Welcome. In this playthrough of Marvel Champions, a card game, we have Venom teaming up with Spider-Man to take on an expert Green Goblin and his mutagen formula. For our villain setup, we've got Goblin 2 and 3, starting with a scheme of 2, attack of 2 with a force response. After he attacks and damages you, place a threat on the main scheme. Also, when revealed, deal 2 encounter cards to each player, and hit points of 18 per player. So out of his 2 main schemes starting out, like I said, Goblin 2 and 3, we've got the standard and expert cards, and using the Goblin gimmicks. Set up, put a Goblin Thrall minion into play, engage with each player, shuffle the encounter deck, and advance to 1B, which gives us a threshold of 7 per player. It's going to come out with 4 threat on it, and when completed in player order, each player not engaged with a Goblin minion must discard 3 cards from the encounter deck and put the first Goblin minion they discarded this way into play, engage with them. And the Thralls, scheme of 1, attack of 1, 3 health, and they have guard, so while engaged with us, we cannot attack the villain. Then for our hero deck construction, Venom, thwart of 1, attack of 2, defense of 2. He can control 1 additional upgrade that has a restricted keyword. Symbiotic Bond is resource, take 1 damage to generate a wild resource once per phase, hand size of 5 and 12 health. On Alter Ego, Recovery 4, can still have that 1 additional restricted upgrade. Armed and ready for setup, discard cards from the top of your deck until you discard a weapon upgrade, then add that card to your hand. Hand size of 6 in that form. Going with aggression, 2 power of aggressions, combat training, lie in wait, 2 mean swings, 3 relentless assaults, 3 fusillades. Then some allies, we have Bug, Spider-Girl, Valkyrie, Brawn, the Hulk, and Tigra. And for basic cards are 3 resources, a helicarrier, a side holster, downtime, and endurance. Then Spider-Man, thwart of 1, attack of 2, 3 defense. Spider Sense as an interrupt when the villain initiates an attack against you, draw a card. Hand size of 5, 10 health. Alter Ego, recovery of 3. He's a scientist. As a resource, generate a mental resource once per round, hand size of 6. Bringing him with justice, so 2 power of justice, a sense of justice, 3 for justice, under surveillance, then 3 multitasking, spycraft, counterintelligence, Wiccan, Quake, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, and Agent Coulson. Basic cards, we've got our 3 resources, helicarrier, Spider-Man, this is Miles Morales, so it doesn't conflict with him, Nick Fury, and then our downtime and endurance. All right, finish shuffling our encounter deck. Then each of us is getting 2 encounter cards, because Green Goblin is not fun. Then Flash Thompson, 6 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So we've got Relentless Assault, Project Rebirth, that's a keeper. There's Multigun, that's a keeper. And Genius, that's a keeper. 3 more cards. Brawn, Pistol, and some Tendrils. Now the downside is I think I only have 1 weapon left, and we've got to go search until we find it. So hopefully it's not all the way on the bottom, or else we're going to go through this deck pretty quick. Found it, only halfway through our stack. And then Peter Parker. 6 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, multitasking, web kick, Genius for Justice, and Agent Coulson. Think we'll go with those. Strength, enhanced spider sense, and a backflip. So first we're going to play Project Rebirth. Alter Ego action exhausts it to choose to either draw a card or heal 3 health. We are going to draw a card to Grasping Tendrils. Then we're going to bring in one of our pistols. When you use one of Venom's basic powers, exhaust this. Venom gets +1 to that power for this use. Then we'll bring in another pistol. Flip over. We're going to take a damage to get a resource to bring in her multi-gun. Restricted hero action, exhaust the gun, deal 2 damage to an enemy, or choose a player, deal 1 damage to each minion engaged with that player, or remove 2 threat from a scheme. We are going to attack for 4 to get rid of a thrall. Then 2 damage over here. Peter Parker, use that to create a mental resource. Bringing in Agent Coulson. Thwart a 2, attack of 1, 3 health. After you enter his play, search your deck and discard pile for a preparation card. Add it to your hand and shuffle her deck. Spycraft looks good. Go ahead and flip over. For justice, remove 4 threat from a scheme if we pay for this using mental resources. Attack for 1. Attack for 2, down to 34. Then we're going to spin a backflip to bring in Spycraft. Play only if you control a spy character, which Agent Coulson is. Interrupt. When you reveal an encounter card, discard Spycraft, cancel the effects of that card and discard it, then reveal another card from the encounter deck. Since we have 6 encounter cards getting ready to come up, that might be of use. And we're also going to hold on to our enhanced spider sense. So 4 more cards over here. Daredevil, Web Shooter, Endurance, and another Web Shooter. And over here, Fusillade, Strength, Behind Enemy Lines, Lion Weight, and Power of Aggression. 2 threat. Attacking over here. And we're just going to take it. A base 2, 3 damage. Down to 8. After he attacks and damages you, place a threat on the main scheme. Attack over here. We draw a card into Jessica Jones. We're going to... We'll defend. For base 2, put the Goblin Thrall into play, so we took no damage. Then this guy's going to hit us for 1, down to 9. All right. Counter cards. Green Goblin attacks you with +X attack, where X is equal to his stage number. Coulson will jump in front of that one for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then surge and exhaust your identity card. So we're exhausted and surge into a pumpkin bombs. Attach to the villain. After the villain attacks you, discard pumpkin bombs and take 2 indirect damage. Your action, spend 2 physical resources to discard it. And Goblin Nation. Each goblin enemy gets +1 attack. Comes in with 4 threat. Then on this side, got a Goblin Soldier. Scheme of 1, attack of 1, 5 health. Deal 1 damage to each to the engaged player when it's defeated. Overrun when defeated in player order. Each player must discard 2 cards from the counter deck and put each Goblin minion they discarded this way into play engaged with them. 2 threat. And lastly, Hysteria. Not a fan of that card. We're going to Spycraft that one. Cancel the effects of that card and discard it. Shadows of the Past. And not a fan of that one. So Enhanced Spider Sense. When a treachery card is revealed from the counter deck, cancel its when revealed effects. And pass turn. All right, Jessica Jones. We're going to bring her in. Thwart of 1, attack of 2. She gets +1 thwart for each side scheme into play. So she is thwarting for 3. We're going to hold off, request an action over here to remove 2 threat from a scheme. To see how bad this is going to go. So discarding 2 cards and putting each goblin in play. So for him, getting a monster. When revealed, you're stunned. Scheme of 1, attack of 3 and 6 health. So that didn't go well. Then over here, nothing. Oh, I should have thwarted with her before we did that. Oh well. Going to attack for 2. I'm going to take a damage to generate a wild resource. And that is going to be mental. Using this, remove 3 threat from a scheme. If you paid for this card using only mental resources, confuse an enemy. So remove 3 threat. And confuse. Then we're going to exhaust a weapon we control to deal 5 damage to an enemy. And those were actions that could have been used during his turn. He's going to flip over. And then for his turn, he's going to flip over 2 and heal for 3. All right, ending her turn. 6 cards for Justice, Quake, Multitasking, Wiccan, Spider Tracer, and a Swinging Web Kick. I'll go ahead and keep that. 5 more cards, Relentless Assault, Savage Attack, Spider Sense, Relentless Assault, and Energy. So 2 threat. Scheming, Losing Confuse. They scheme for 1 each, up to 4. Scheming over here for 2, 3. Encounter cards. Surge, since we're an alter ego, into a Goblin Knight. Scheme of 2, attack of 2, 7 health. After he attacks you, discard a card from the encounter deck. If that card is a Goblin minion, put it in a play engaged with you. And over here, I see you. When revealed, Green Goblin attacks you. If you are an alter ego form, do not give the villain a boost card for this activation. So he's swinging at us for 2. And after a villain attacks you, discard Pumpkin Bobs. Take 2 indirect damage, down to 6. Then that gets discarded. Pass first player. I think we'll heal for 3, up to 9. Go ahead and flip over. We're going to play Relentless Assault to deal 5 damage. And use the multi-gun for 2 more. We will play this, Lie in Wait. Hero response, after minion engages you, discard Lie in Wait to deal 3 damage to it. Then we're going to take a damage for a resource. To bring in Spider Sense, when the villain initiates an attack against you, draw a card so it can feel like Spider-Man. And then attack for 4 to get rid of the Thrall. Going to generate a mental resource to bring in Wiccan. Thwart a 1, attack a 1, 3 health. After he thwarts, discard the top card of the encounter deck. For each boost icon discarded this way, deal a damage to an enemy. So he is going to thwart for 1. Let's see, we've got 7 there. That goes to 14. I think we'll be all right. Dealing 0 damage. Actually, wanted to thwart from that side. Flipping over, attacking to get rid of stunned. For Justice, paying a mental, removing 4 threat from a scheme. Well, before we do that, start playing a little smarter. She's going to thwart for 2 here. Then for justice on this one. And ending her turn. Drawing 4. Went through our deck quick. Power of Aggression, Combat Training, Fusillade, and Valkyrie. And counter card, and we've got one more card coming. So finish shuffling up. To a Relentless Assault. We're going to keep Quake. Swinging Web Kick, Spider Tracer, Spider-Man, and Counterintelligence. So 2 threat. Attacking over here, we draw a card because of Spider Sense into a Genius. Attacking for 2, we'll take it. 4 down to 4. Add a threat. Attack over here, draw a card into Energy. Jessica will defend. So 1, 2, 5. And that guy hits us for 1 down to 8. And counter cards. Got a Thrall. And when he comes into play, Lying in Wait takes care of him. And then the villain attacks you. So initiate drawing a card. Wiccan jumps in the way for 1, 2, 5. And then the villain schemes for 1, 2, 5. All right, bringing in Miles Morales. Thor to 1, attack for 2, 3 health. After you play him from your hand, choose Thor to attack. He gets +2 to the chosen power until the end of the phase. We're going with Thwart. So thwarting for 3. Then we're going to play Counterintelligence. When any amount of threat would be placed on the main scheme, discard this to prevent 3 of that threat. Then Spider-Man will thwart for 1. Then over here, we're going to take a damage for a resource. To bring in Valkyrie. She enters play. We're making our Wilds Energy, dealing 3 damage to a minion. Then we're going to do a Relentless Assault, paying a physical resource to deal 5 damage to a minion with Overkill. So he soaks up 2, 3 breaks through, down to 31. And when when defeated, he's dealing the damage to who he's engaged with. Then attacking for 2, down to 29. Remove 2 threat. Exhaust a weapon upgrade you control, deal 5 damage to an enemy. Down to 24. Then thwart for 2. Flip over, heal for 3, up to 6. And end her turn. So 6 cards over here. Endurance, Savage Attack. The Hulk, Savage Attack. Strength, Locked and Loaded. 5 cards over here. Webbed Up, for Justice, Backflip, Power of Justice, and Webbed Up. So 2 threat, up to 6. Initiating attack, drawing into Sense of Justice. Attacking for 2, 3, additional boost card. Put a soldier into play. And we're going to backflip. When you would take any amount of damage from an attack, prevent all of that damage. And we get hit for 1, down to 6. Scheming here for 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to prevent 3 of that. Putting 1 there. And counter cards. Villain heals X damage where X is equal to double of his stage number. So healing 4 up to 28. And choose to either spend 2 resources of any type or give him a face down boost card. Pass first player. We're going to heal for 3 up to 9. Flip over. Going to bring in the Hulk, but I'm afraid to attack with him. So he's just going to be defense. Then we're going to do a savage attack. Deal 5 damage to an enemy. If you paid for this card using only those type of resources, it gains overkill. But we're just doing 5 to get rid of him, which deals the damage here. And he misses Aunt May. Then we're going to take a damage to bring in endurance. And let me see here. Who do we want to play that on? We'll bring it on ourselves. Taking us up to 11. Then we are going to thwart for 3. Then remove 2 threats. And attack for 2. Then we're going to have a Sense of Justice. Play under any player's control. Max 1 per player. As a resource, exhaust this. Generate a mental resource for a thwart event, which we will do to overdo some threat removal. Then he's going to attack for 2. Down to 24. And he's going to flip over and heal for 3. Up to 8. Ending our turn. So 5 cards over here. Behind enemy lines. Brawn, Helicarrier, Grasping Tendrils, and Tigra. And we're keeping webbed up. So Helicarrier, Aunt May, there she is. Nick Fury, Downtime, and Black Cat. 2 threats. Attacking over here triggers us drawing a card into behind enemy lines. And we're going to do some Grasping Tendrils. When the villain initiates attack against you, cancel that attack. If you paid for this card using only physical resources, stun the villain. Doing that, taking a damage. So canceling the attack and stunning him. Then scheming over here for base 2, 3, 4. And counter cards, Goblin Thrall, and discard cards from top of the counter deck where X is equal to double the villain's stage number, which is 4. Each time a Goblin minion is discarded this way, choose to either take 3 damage or put that minion into play engage with you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. Take 3 damage, down to 5. Good. And good. Pass first player. All right. We're going to use his resource to bring in Aunt May. Alter Ego action. Exhaust her to heal 4 damage from Peter Parker. Up to 9. Flip on over. And we're going to do a webbed up. Paying for hero form only, attached to an enemy, force interrupt. When attached enemy would attack, discard webbed up instead, then stun that enemy. And the way this works, if there's a stun card on it, the condition works first, so remove the stun. Then the next time it goes to attack, remove this, and then add a stun back to it. Then we're going to attack for 2. Then over here, bring in Brawn. Thwart 1, attack of 1, 5 health. After Brawn attacks, remove a threat from a scheme. So attacking for 1. Removing a threat. We will use the multi-gun to remove 2 threats. And then we will attack for 4, down to 20. And keeping those people around to defend with. I'm probably playing too cautious here, but oh well. 3 cards: Enhanced Spider Sense, Power of Justice, and Under Surveillance. And counter card and shuffling. We'll get 2 more cards here in a second. So we've got him down to 20 health, and he's tied up from attacking for a little bit. So our 2 cards, a backflip and a web shooter. Then over here, 5 cards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relentless Assault, Power of Aggression, Energy, Downtime, and Spider Girl. All right, so we get 2 threat, goes to attack, loses stunned, goes to attack, loses webbed up, gets stunned. And counter cards, got a Goblin Soldier. Then Overrun. When defeated in player order, each player must discard 2 cards from the counter deck and put each Goblin minion they discarded this way into play engage with them. 2 threat. And we're in hero form. Green Goblin attacks you and loses stunned. And pass first player. All right, so we're going to play a Relentless Assault, 5 damage to take care of this guy. Then we will attack for 1, down to 19, which removes a threat. Then we're going to have Valkyrie thwart for 1. And after this is defeated, we're looking at 2 cards for each. And let's see, in player order, each player must discard 2 cards from the encounter deck. So we're discarding. So he gets lucky here, nothing there. Get a +1. And then Spider-Man discards 2 cards. And we hope we don't see any minions. But he sees a Thrall. All right, we're going to bring in Spider Girl. After you play her from our hand, stun and confuse a minion, thwart a 1, and attack of 2. So stun and confused. But it's not going to matter. She's going to attack for 2, down to 17. Then Venom is going to attack for 4. Remove 2 threats. Take a damage. To bring in some downtime for us, just in case. Then over here, Power of Justice to bring in Under Surveillance, attached to the main scheme to increase its target by 4. So instead of 14, it now goes to 18. Then we're going to bring out a web shooter. Gets 3 web counters, enters play with, well, the 3 counters. Here, a resource, exhaust it, remove a web counter from it to generate a wild resource. And then attacking for 2, down to 15. Ending her turn. We're going to keep the backflip, drawing 4 more. So you've got Coulson, Counterintelligence, Nick Fury, and Multitasking. 5 cards over here. 3, 4, 5. Run and gun, tendrils, side holster, and another run and gun. And yes, I shouldn't have put this card in there because that's the only weapons I've got, but oh well. So 3 threat. Initiating attack, we draw into Fusillade. And then Spider-Girl jumps in the way, 1, 2, 3 damage. Initiate attack, we draw a card, a web shooter. For base 1, 2, 3, this gets +1 boost icon if at least 1 goblin minions engage with you. There's not any. But we're back flipping out of that, so no damage. And counter cards. Oh, struggle for control. So Flash Thompson, we may flip to our other side. We will. Exhaust Flash and take 2 damage. Discard this obligation or put 1 set-aside copy of an Enraged Symbiote into play engage with the first player. That's the option we're going to choose. So Schema 1, attack of 2, 2 health, guard and patrol. So we can't attack the villain and we can't remove from the main scheme. And then Goblin Glider, attaching the enemy with the highest printed hit points, which will be Goblin. Gives him +1 attack. We can spend 2 energy resources to get rid of it. And pass first player. So we are going to bring in a web shooter. Then we're going to use both web shooters, taking a resource off of each, to bring in Nick Fury. Thwart a 2 attack, a 2, 3 health, and several options, but we're drawing 3 cards with him. So Power of Justice, Wiccan, and Quake. And we are going to go with Wiccan. Thwart a 1, attack of 1, 3 health. After he thwarts, discard the top card of the encounter deck, and we deal that much damage to an enemy. So thwarting for 1. Dealing 1 damage somewhere, which will be over here. Then Nick attacks for 2. Actually, Spider-Man attacked for 2. We'll have Nick thwart for 2. So we're good over here. On this side, heal for 3. Up to 12. Flip over. Remove 2 threat. We'll use Fusillade to deal 5 damage to an enemy after we exhaust a weapon. Down to 9. Then we're going to attack for 3. Down to 6. Then we're going to take a damage to create a resource to run and gun, ready Venom and each weapon upgrade you control. So we're going to do 2 damage, taking him down to 4, then attack for 4 to take him to the next level. The next level, Schema 2, attack of 3. When revealed, deal 3 encounter cards to each player, and after he attacks and damages you, place 2 threat on the main scheme and 40 health. One, two, 3. 1, 2, 3. Then attack for 1, down to 39, which removes a threat. And ending our turn. Hulk is just calmly watching, along with other Spider-Man. So we're going to get 5 cards, or 4. Main swing times 2, a bug, and a run and gun. Then another encounter card and shuffle. And our next card is Valkyrie. We are going to keep Quake, so 4 more cards over here. Genius, Downtime, Spider Tracer, and Strength. 3 threat. Initiate an attack, draw a card, Swinging Web Kick. Nick Fury defends. A base 4. Put him into play, so he is out. We take a damage from the soldier down to 8. Initiate an attack, we draw a card. Spider-Man defends. 4, and put this guy into play. Unfortunately, so the attack's shifted over here. But he's not attacking because we're still over here in this minion, so that worked out for us a little bit. But where it quits working out for us is now. So we've got 5 there and 4 here. First one, Green Goblin attacks with +X attack, where X is equal to the villain's stage number. So attacking for 6, 7. We get to draw a card into a Spider Tracer. Wiccan says he's got this. And Wiccan is thanked for his duties. Then Green Goblin's attacks, where X is, all right, doing it again. So we get to draw a card into a backflip. So a lot of damage coming our way. And we prevent all of that. Then we get a Goblin Thrall. And Pumpkin Bombs attached to the villain. After the villain attacks you, discard Pumpkin Bombs to take 2 indirect damage. Hero action, we can spend 2 physical resources to discard it. Now for these 5 cards, place 4 threat on each side scheme. If we don't have one, we discard cards until we find one. Found one, Goblin Nation. Each goblin enemy gets +1 attack, 4 threat. And more Pumpkin Bombs. That first attack's going to hurt. And Surge and Exhaust your identity. So Surging, Exhausting. Then we've got a Goblin Thrall. Then he's going to heal X damage, where X is equal to double his stage number, so healing 6. But he's only got room for 1, so we got lucky there, up to 40. Because it says if no damage was healed this way, again Surge. And then Spider-Man needs to go home and pay his rent. If not, discard a card at random from your hand. This card gains Surge and discard this obligation. You know what? I think I'm fine with flipping over, exhausting to go pay our rent and remove that from the game. And pass first player. So 10 encounter cards, not too bad considering. All right, behind enemy lines. Remove 3 threat from a scheme. If you pay for this card using only mental resources, confuse the enemy. We're not. We're just removing 3 threat from a scheme. And then Brawn is going to attack for 1. Let's see, where's all our guards at? We'll put 1 on that guy, which removes a threat. Then he's going to take a damage to generate a energy resource to bring her in. She enters play, 3 damage to a minion. To kill that thrall. Then she will attack for 2 to take out this thrall. And 2 damage, down to 38. Use his ability to generate a mental resource to bring in Quake. Thor to 1, attack for 2, 2 health. After a minion schemes, exhaust her to deal 2 damage to that minion. She will come in and attack for 2. Down to 36. Aunt May heals us up to 10. Flipping over. We'll do a swinging web kick, deal 8 damage to an enemy. No guards there, so down to 28. Then we'll use a web shooter to throw a spider tracer on a goblin soldier. And end her turn. Keeping strength over here, so 4 more cards. Spycraft for justice, daredevil, and energy. 5 cards over here. Combat training, locked and loaded, genius, Tigra, and behind enemy lines. So 3 threats. Initiating attack, we draw into a run and gun. Brawn is going to defend for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 additional cards, 6 damage. Then we have 2 pumpkin bombs going off. For the villain attacks, take 2 indirect damage each. And the way indirect damage works, I know it's confusing in the rule book. You can split that damage up any way you want between your heroes. It does not need to be equal. The only caveat is you cannot apply more damage to a character than they have health. So I could not put 4 indirect damage on Valkyrie because she only has 2 health. But I'm going to put all 4 on the Hulk. Then Goblin's going to initiate an attack over here. We draw into a swinging web kick. Quake is going to jump in the way of that, so 4, 5, 6 damage. Then each of these guys hits us for 1. We go down to 8 health. And counter cards. Choose to either spend 2 resources of any type or give the villain a face-down boost. Have a boost. And then the villain's going to scheme. 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're up to 12. Down a couple 5s and 1s and pass first player. All right, we're going to bring in Daredevil. Thwart a 2, attack 2, 3 health. After he thwarts, deal a damage to an enemy. We'll thwart for 2. To deal a damage to that one. Then Sense of Justice for our mental resource to remove 4 threat from a scheme. Then we are going to attack for 2. Down to 26. Then over here, attacking for 4 to get rid of him. It's going to trigger doing a damage here and removing 3 threat from a scheme. Then 2 damage. Then we're going to bring in Tigra. Thwart a 1, attack of 2, 3 health. After she attacks and defeats a minion, heal 1 damage from her. She's going to hit him for 2. Then Valkyrie's going to hit him for 2. Down to 20. Then we're going to take a damage to create a resource for run and gun, ready venom, and each weapon upgrade you control. Then he's going to attack for 4. Down to 16, and then 2 more damage, down to 14. And end her turn. We're going to keep our web kick, get a helicarrier, another web kick, enhance spider sense, and Jessica Jones. And 5 cards over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fusillade, Power of Aggression, Savage Attack, Spider-Girl, and her side holster. All right, 3 threat. Initiate an attack. Draw into a webbed up. Valkyrie jumps in the way for 4 damage. Then he's going to swing for 1. Initiate an attack over here. We draw into a Fusillade. Hulk decides to do something. So attack for 4, 5, 6. And counter cards. We've got a Goblin Thrall. And under fire. Surge. And reveal the top card of the encounter deck. Not the best, but it will. Pumpkin Bombs. And a Goblin Soldier. Okay, so this guy does not have guard. So we will Fusillade, exhaust a weapon we control, deal 5 damage to an enemy. Down to 9. Fusillade again, exhaust a weapon we control, down to 4. Attack for 2. Multi-gun for 2. And that's Venom and Spider-Man taking on Green Goblin. We still had a nice side holster we could have put in play. Of course, she had an attack. And Spider-Man was really set up. So we had a swinging web kick. And we could have used our web shooters here with the helicarrier for another swinging web kick. So he had 16, 17, 18, 19 more damage he could have done. So I think that was a pretty good team up for them. Of course, he had guard in front of one of those guys, but I think he could have handled one of them. So as always, hope you enjoyed this playthrough. So please click on the like button below and be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.